If you're watching this video, I can probably assume a thing or two about you. The main thing being you probably like anime. Am I right? Probably right. And if you're a fan of anime, then you've probably most definitely heard of the hit series Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is a battle shonen series written and drawn by Kyoyoharu Gotoge. It was serialized in Weekly Shonen Jump from 2016 to 2020. It tells the story of Tanjiro Kamado, a young son of a coal miner who becomes a demon slayer after the murder of his family and his sister Nezuko is turned into a demon. While it was a moderate success for most of its run, it exploded into worldwide popularity after the release of the anime adaptation in 2019. Since then, it's become one of the highest selling manga series of all time, even overtaking yearly sales of series like One Piece at times. It's had 4 seasons, all of which have been successful. The movie Mugen Train became one of the highest grossing films of all time in Japan, and a huge success overseas. Even the compilation movies, which are just edited together episodes, always manage to turn a profit. It's also had multiple spin-offs, art books, video games, and even a stage play. And as one of the most popular series of all time, naturally it's gained a lot of attention, and a lot of it is really annoying to deal with. Now, some of my thoughts on the series, just to get out of the way. I really love this series. It's a personal favorite of mine. The action is fun and interesting. The characters are really enjoyable, being a combination of goofy and charming while still relatable. The comedy is really fun, and it has a very strong thematic center and is very effective in how it communicates it. And it also just has a really hopeful human feeling to the entire series, that no matter how bad things may get, as long as you're surrounded by people you trust and fight your hardest, you'll get through it. Even if you don't end whatever is happening, you help set up the stage for those who come after you. And not really needing to be stated, but the art and animation is absolutely phenomenal. Produced at Studio Ufotable and directed by Hiro Sotozaki, it differentiates itself from most other series by heavily blending 2D animation and CGI to create a really unique look that this studio is known for. The use of CGI in the camera movement, effects, lighting, backgrounds is unlike most other series. The style isn't for everyone, but you can't deny how impressive the production of this series was. And there's a lot of people who don't care for the series. Now, to be clear, that's far from the overall consensus. It's one of the most popular series of all time for a reason. Most people who've read or watched it liked it just fine. But I have noticed a certain discourse that comes up around the show every time a new season comes out. And that discourse being, it's mid. I have really come to hate the word mid over the last couple years. This is discourse that comes up more in hardcore anime spaces where a lot of people have watched dozens to maybe hundreds of series, dealing with newer anime fans who haven't watched that many series going on and on about how Demon Slayer is the greatest series of all time. And more hardcore fans are responding that it's a no-plot, weak character series that is carried by animation. And then people started saying the animation isn't that good, and it's just effects. Now, as someone who has read/watched a ton of anime and manga and legit loves Demon Slayer, I can safely say that it's far from the best series out there. There are series that have more interesting plots, more complex themes and characters, more well thought out and choreographed fights, better manga art, and some anime are just better animated. I will concede to this point, but here's my counter argument. Demon Slayer may not be the most complex series, but it's a very intentional series. It does have some writing shortcomings, specifically with its pacing and kind of wrapping up loose ends towards the end of it. But overall, it is doing what it's setting out to do. The plot isn't intricate, but it does a good job of making you invested in what's happening. The characters aren't the most complex, but they're all well defined and help add to the series' core themes. And on a thematic level, the series always has a clear idea of what it's trying to say. The themes aren't the most complex, but you already know what the core of the story is. The manga art isn't the best, but it has a lot of personality. And again, the animation may not be the best ever made, but it's still one of the best ever made, with a constant level of quality that few other series can really touch. Demon Slayer isn't the best, most complex thing ever, but it's succeeding at what it's trying to be, which is a simple story of people trying their best. And while this has obviously worked for a lot of people, I can tell that for a lot of other people, Demon Slayer isn't what they're looking for. Now, while I don't have any evidence for this is just a personal theory, but there's a couple things that didn't do this series any favors. The first season and Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, I like the first season. It does what any good first season does and establishes the tone and themes of a series, but it doesn't excel. Now, episode 19, Hinokami, is really what set the world on fire when it came out, and I can still see why. The animation, the build-up, music, voice acting, emotion, it's still one of the best episodes of anime I've ever seen 5 years after it came out. So you are left with a good season with a phenomenal episode being hyped to all hell. I can really see how that can get annoying for a lot of people. It also didn't help that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the next installment didn't come out for nearly 2 years. Now, from Mugen Train onwards, the series does a lot to live up to the hype around it, but by this point, a lot of the damage had been done. A lot of people had their opinion set on it or ruined by the hype, and it was going to take the series being something other than what it was to really change that. And in my point of view, this is only made worse by Jujutsu Kaisen. Released in 2020 between Demon Slayer installments, this series was published by the same company that published Demon Slayer, and was very much being marketed as their next big thing. And yeah, it was. It also went on to become a worldwide hit and dearly beloved in the community, and most importantly, it matched what a lot of people were looking for. Its story is intricate with a lot of moving elements. The themes and characters are deeply complex and interesting in the way that everything plays off of each other. The fights make use of a complex power system to create really strategic and interesting fight set pieces. Its anime is also really well done, with the second season really blowing everything else out of the water at its time. I've noticed a general palette shift with a lot of audiences for more complex and nuanced stories and characters that really explore what can be done with the action genre, and Jujutsu Kaisen matches that palette. It's definitely the series for its time, and Demon Slayer just isn't. And I'm not going to judge people who don't like Demon Slayer. I've got more important things to worry about, and besides, not everything is made for everyone. Things would get boring if everything was made to match the exact same right criteria for what is good. But I am just a little bit going to judge people, just a little bit, for spending a lot of time and energy to move the conversation from Demon Slayer isn't for me to Demon Slayer is a bad series, and I am completely and objectively right for not liking it. Although this isn't exactly something unique to Demon Slayer. We as people are limited by our own experiences, which lead to a limited worldview. No matter how much you read, study, or how many people you talk to, you are ultimately just one person compared to the entirety of human existence. You can't compare to that. All one can do is either accept that and continue to try to understand as much as possible, or plant your feet and act like your worldview is the objective, true view. And you probably know what most people do. It's weird watching a lot of people spend a lot of time and energy trying to convince people that Demon Slayer is actually a bad series instead of the possibility that it's just not made for them. And I'm not trying to delegitimize anyone's opinion on the series. If you don't like something, you don't like something. It's not that deep. But always think about why you don't like something. Your relationship with art is complicated, and various things can affect your feelings with something. If you don't like something, your first instinct will be because something is bad, and the possibility of it being something else doesn't come up. And sometimes, yeah, something is just bad.
Looking at you, Rent-A-Girlfriend.
Sometimes that first instinct of yours is right, but you owe it to yourself to explore other possibilities before concluding on your first instinct. So, yeah. Keep an open mind, like and dislike whatever you want, and fuck attention-seeking trolls.